wildlife hospitals all over Britain take in the sick and the wounded in all shapes and sizes. But what is a typical day like in one of these rescue facilities? We went to a Hampshire Wildlife Hospital to find out what goes on. Hampshire's Animal Rescue Team, also known as HART, rescue, treat and rehabilitate wildlife and take in around 1,500 animals every year.
96.
Every day the animals have to be fed and treated before being put back into a clean bed. Records are kept for all of the patients at the hospital in order to track their progress. This can be a very time-consuming process, especially when they have baby mammals which need feeding every few hours. HART is well known for its vast amount of prickly visitors. Due to their nocturnal way of life, they can only be released at certain times of the year. This means that most stay at the hospital for many months. Their weight and condition has to be carefully monitored, so each morning they are inspected and popped into kitchen scales.
Do you want to make sure that all the skin is wet? So just on, not underneath, but like on the, all around this area. See how it's dripping? This is how you want it to be. It's easier on some than others, so this one hasn't got a ridiculous amount of spines. So it's gone through quite well. Another area that does tend to get missed is this little bum area here. But you can see that's definitely all wet there.
So we check the boxes for spines and poo. Just make sure everything's okay.
All their boxes have to be scrubbed and fresh food, water and bedding has to be put in.
And then we disinfect everything after each hedgehog. Everything's cleaned up, ready for the next one. And we also sterilise our gloves because we don't want to transfer ringworm to any other hedgehog.
After spending a while in the hospital, the hedgehogs start to get used to being handled. They tend to ball up less and certainly get more inquisitive.
Some of them, are quite friendly. Others never sort of get used to handling them, but others, the spines lay really flat and then you can only stroke them.
Unlike the hedgehogs, some patients can be quite intimidating. No, not them. This buzzard has been brought in with a badly injured wing, which the team have to examine.
So this buzzard was brought in to us by the RSPCA. It's got an injury on its wing. It's slightly swollen, but we don't think there's a break there.
Birds of prey are often one of the most difficult animals to rehabilitate, as they have to be in perfect condition to survive in the wild.
This is a swelling on the bone, so this is actually, this is her elbow, so that's the humerus coming down, and that's the elbow joint. So it's okay, there's no sort of feel of any break.
So it's currently on treatment at the moment,
Yeah.
and we're monitoring it, and hopefully she'll get better and back out to the wild.
Through the spring and summer months, the hospital gets an influx of baby animals. These fox cubs are only a few weeks old and have to be fed every 4 hours.
Their eyes opened 4 days ago, so they are about 18 days old. They're not released until much later in the year, normally sort of September time. So we've got a long way to go with them, they've just got to be kept. So as soon as they're off milk, then the actual contact becomes minimal.
It's trying to bite, but
Just trying to suckle.
it's a fun joy, aren't you? Look at that, not latched onto my finger. And another one. Little biter.
It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights for anyone on babysitting duty.
During the summer period, spring and summer, we're supported by volunteers every day. We normally have 5-6 volunteers in a day, and we also have people who are dedicated babysitters. So if we get baby mammals in that need feeding overnight, then they are very kindly taken away by certain of our volunteers and looked after overnight.
A daily challenge at many rescue facilities is trying to find space to put all of these animals. With limited funds, the team have to be resourceful. A lot of the time is spent using whatever they can to adapt enclosures to suit specific species. Some of the older fox cubs need more room to run about, so they are being relocated to the birds of prey enclosure.
Space is always a major issue, particularly when you're looking at larger mammals as well. We don't have a lot of space for those.
We put them over in the corner and wait for Ben. It's quite nice and secluded out up here really, isn't it?
The team have to keep an eye out to make sure that the cubs are getting along and not fighting too aggressively. When an animal has fully recovered and is ready to be released, they are boxed up and sent on their way.
We are off to release a little egret that we rescued probably about 8 weeks ago now. It had a broken wing, so it's had some rest and some treatment, and yeah, it can fly now, so hopefully it's going to go off and do what he needs to do in the wild again.
Working at the hospital can be stressful, tiring and emotional, but for the team it's all worth it when they see an animal pull through and released back into the wild.
You tend to remember the bad ones and not the good ones, and overall, you know, when you look back on the figures you think, yes, we did a good job.
If we can, volunteer to come and, look after the ones that are brought into us, and we can then let them go in a safe place, that's the sort of thing I like.
Every day is different. You never know what's going to come through the door. And the species that you can see here, obviously you'd never normally see in the wild.
A lot of the recuperated animals are taken back to the areas in which they were rescued from. Others can be released in the area surrounding the hospital and quite often stick around for the free food.